It's Wednesday. We're at Melrose Mountain, higher ground in Tryon, North Carolina. It's a little overcast today in the mid 60s. Going to have a little rainstorm this afternoon, but we've had beautiful weather up here. I can't complain at all about an occasional rain. We're in Mark chapter 9, and I have one of those passages that you just would like to skip over, and a lot of commentaries do. You remember yesterday we had James, John, and Peter up on the mountaintop, and they had actually seen Moses and Elijah discussing with Jesus about what he was going to do in Jerusalem. They were sworn to secrecy until Jesus is resurrected from the dead, and yet they had a question. They said in verse 11 of chapter 9, the scribes say Elijah must come first. And obviously they were a little confused. They saw Elijah up on the mountain. They wondered if this was the appearance of Elijah that they had heard about from the scribes, or just exactly what was going on here. Jesus responds back in a very unusual way, and there's a parallel passage in Matthew 17:9 which will confuse you even further. And if you know your scriptures, John chapter 1 verse 21 will absolutely boggle your mind. Jesus says that Elijah has come and will come. Now look at both accounts, the Mark account and the Matthew account, Matthew 17 and Mark chapter 9. And Jesus says that Elijah has come and will come. Now he's not talking about Elijah coming during the Old Testament times when he took on all of the prophets of Baal. He's talking about John the Baptist having come in the spirit of Elijah, not as Elijah. And you'll see that very clearly in the Matthew verse 13 in chapter 17. You'll see that they perceived that he was talking about John the Baptist, but he came only in the spirit, because if you look at John chapter 1 verse 21, when John the Baptist was questioned, he said, when they asked him if he was Elijah, he said, "No, I am not." But he did come in the spirit of Elijah, because he came calling for repentance. He called coming to try to change men and to bring them to repentance. So what is Jesus talking about? He's talking about John coming in the spirit of Elijah, but then he's also talking about the fact that Elijah will come prior to the judgment. Not prior to Jesus coming as Messiah, but Jesus coming in the judgment of the world. You'll find it in Revelation chapter 11. You'll find the two witnesses who had power and incredible ability to witness, and that is the coming of Elijah. It's been a troublesome passage for me over the time, but as I did the research on this, and I'm pretty well made myself comfortable with my study and my decision about Elijah as the spirit that John showed, and then Elijah coming as one of the two witnesses, I ran across one of John Phillips' wonderful comments, and he says, when we see Moses and Elijah up on the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus, Moses represents the law, and Elijah represents the prophets of old. Interesting thought. And that's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a wonderful day.